Well, joining me live from Hobart now is the incoming Labor MP for Lyons and former Tasmanian Labor leader, Rebecca White. Rebecca White, thank you for your time. Congratulations on making it into Parliament. And upon what looks to be a promotion to Assistant Minister, how does it feel to be in the federal Parliament, having been Labor leader in Tasmania?
Well, good morning, Andrew, and coming to you from very brisk but beautiful Hobart. I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. I'm so excited to be able to lend my support to the Labor government and to be able to deliver on the commitments we took to this election, which were resoundingly supported by the Tasmanian community. And my job now is to make sure that we deliver on those promises.
Now, Labor had probably its best ever result in Tasmania, big swings and wins in Bass and Braden. What issues do you think resonated down there the most?
I think there were two reasons that can explain the result here in Tasmania. The first is that people voted for Labor's plan, and particularly our commitment to strengthen Medicare. Health is a big issue here in Tasmania for a number of reasons, and the idea that people would be able to see a bulk billing doctor helped a lot of people decide to vote Labor, but also the fact that we delivered Medicare urgent care clinics across the state that were working and supporting people demonstrated that our plan was already improving access to health care, and people wanted to see that expanded upon. So we have 5 Medicare urgent care clinics here in Tassie. We're going to invest in 3 more. And I know that people voted specifically for Labor due to that reason. The second reason that I think explains the result in Tasmania was that there was a very strong anti-Dutton sentiment that I was picking up when I was door knocking, and that was due to the fact that he didn't seem to have a clear plan for Tasmania, but there was also concern about the threat of cuts to Medicare and a push for nuclear, which of course Tasmanians don't see a place for in our state.
Now, it looks likely you will be promoted to Assistant Minister. Was there a deal for you to run?
No, not at all. You might remember that after the state election last year, I stood down as the leader and I was supporting my colleagues in the state parliament. I was weighing up my future, and the opportunity came for me to put my hand up to stand as a candidate for this federal election, which I took. My responsibility is to deliver for my electorate, and that's the only responsibility that I have at the moment, and I'm looking forward to playing that role.
Now, Anthony Albanese is known to personally approach people to run. Did he personally approach you?
Yeah, he did. We've had a long friendship that goes back about 17 or 18 years now, I'd say. So we know each other very well. And of course, when I was leader of the State Labor Party here in Tasmania, we worked closely together. So we've known each other for a very long time, and I was thrilled to be asked to consider nominating for this seat and to run through that pre-selection process. And I'm really thrilled to now be a part of his government.
What was his pitch in terms of the contribution you could make, why you should do it, etc.?
Well, he didn't have to push very hard. I mean, I'm very passionate about my community and I love the work that I do, and I'm thrilled to now be a part of a government that can deliver on the commitments we took to the Tasmanian and Australian people. It doesn't take much to convince me to put my hand up to support my community. So when the Prime Minister suggested that I should do that and stand with him for the federal election, I was thrilled to do that.
Now, obviously, Anthony Albanese took a stance on protecting salmon farmers. How important was that, and did you encourage him to do that?
Yes, we had spoken about that because there are a lot of jobs in regional parts of my electorate that rely on the industry, and I support the industry, and I wanted to make sure that they had certainty and also the knowledge that a federal Labor government backed them and backs regional jobs and the work that they provide across a range of different supply chains. So it is an area where I have a deep interest, and as someone who grew up on a farm, there's always going to be part of me that gets into bat for our agriculture and primary production sector. And so I was really pleased to see that outcome.
Were you unhappy with the way the Environment Minister was handling that?
Well, the Environment Minister was doing her job following the law, and that's been clearly communicated. What we saw here was a change to the federal law that enabled the decision to be made around Macquarie Harbour. The responsibility for regulating the salmon industry more broadly lies with the state government. Of course, the operations of salmon farming happens in state waters, so it is in their jurisdiction. So all other matters relating to how they are regulated lies with the state government here in Tasmania.
You're familiar with the processes of caucuses and factions, having had so long in the Labor Party. What do you make of the events during the week in terms of Ed Husick and Mark Dreyfus having to tap the mat in terms of their positions in the ministry?
Well, the first thing I'd say is that having worked with both Ed and Mark in the past, that I regard them both very highly, and I think they've made an enormous contribution to public life in Australia in the roles that they've held in the Labor government. But as you point out, the Labor Party is well known for the processes that we run around selecting candidates to be put forward for the Prime Minister to determine a cabinet or the ministry. And that process was followed this week, and the outcomes are all public for us to see now. There's been a renewal for some of the members who'll be joining the ministry in the Albanese government, and unfortunately that does come at the expense of both Ed and Mark. And I know that's been a challenge for them, but they're also team players, so we'll look forward to getting to work and delivering on the promises that we made to Australians this election, which is to prioritise them, to make sure that we put their needs first and make sure that we deliver for Australians in our job now as the Australian government.
Labor's had quotas for some time to increase female representation. I think there are 6 new federal Labor female MPs elected at this election. Some are calling for the Liberal Party to adopt that sort of quota system. What's your view of it? What do you say about it?
Well, you're right. The Labor Party has had affirmative action rules now since the 1990s, and what you see is that women have been pre-selected to winnable seats across the country at both state branches and at the federal branch level. And we now have a caucus made up, I think the last number I heard was 57% women, which is truly remarkable, and I think testament not just to the fact that we have an affirmative action policy, but also the calibre of the women that we have pre-selected who have won those seats because they are the best candidates competing in those contests. So I do hope that we see a renewed look from the Liberal National Party at how they might promote women and opportunities for women to put their hand up to stand for Parliament. Because there are structural barriers that obviously exist, and you just have to look at the results to see that playing out.
Just finally, Rebecca White, what are your ultimate ambitions for your time in the federal parliament?
Well, my number one job was to make sure I could be elected to represent my community so I could deliver on the Labor government's agenda here in Tasmania. So I'm really thrilled to be joining everybody in Canberra so that I can do that. My next job is to deliver on the commitments we took to this election and to ensure that those improvements that we committed to across Medicare, TAFE, making sure that we can support people deal with the cost of living pressures they're facing is prioritised. So that's on my plate at the moment, and that's what I'm ambitious for.
Rebecca White, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.